Deep in the heart of Central Texas, it's the Best of the Outdoors podcast, brought to you by Texas Fish and Game Magazine, the voice of the Texas outdoor nation. I'm your humble host, Dustin Vaughn Warncke, author, outdoor writer, videographer, speaker, blogger, and podcaster, and I am so excited that you have joined our podcast today. I'm so excited that you're listening. I'm just fired up, man. I love this show. I love doing this every other week and bringing this to you, and really excited about today's show. Before I get into that, though, wanted to recommend that you subscribe to the podcast if you've not done so already. You can get this through iTunes and Stitcher Radio and a number of other places wherever podcasts are found. Just go to your podcast player, type in the Best of the Outdoors podcast, and you should come up with our nice yellow logo and be able to download all of our past shows. We have 30-something shows so far. We do this every other week and have a lot of fun doing it. All right, next thing up is, really excited about this, Texas Firearms Festival. This is coming up in advance. I'm telling you in advance, so you can go buy your tickets now. This is coming up September the 30th and October the 1st. That is a Saturday and Sunday. That is a weekend and a perfect time to go shoot. You can get behind a lot of different guns with silencers and all kinds of different configurations of guns, semi-automatic, and just, it's a blast. I mean, it literally is a blast. I went last year for a little while and had a lot of fun. I plan on going a lot longer this time this year, and just it's a blast. So check out the Texas Firearms Festival. That's part of the reason why we're interviewing Clayton Hergert today. He is our podcast guest, and Clay is a former Navy SEAL and currently serves on the reserves, and is just a phenomenal guy to interview. Really enjoyed our interview together. He owns ATX Precision, which is a very cool tactical and practical place for learning about precision shooting, handguns, shotguns, rifles, AR-15s, all those different things that go along with shooting sports, training, and those kind of things he does at ATX Precision, and really excited to have him on as our guest this week. We have a lot of fun talking about a lot of different issues in the outdoor world, especially long-range shooting, practical shooting and hunting advice, and all kinds of different things. So I really hope you'll enjoy this opportunity that I took with Clay Hergert from ATX Precision, and we plug the Texas Firearms Festival in there as well. He designed the SWAT Challenge, which was one of the most highlighted parts of the event that was happening at the Texas Firearms Festival last year, first year for that, and he's bringing that back with a few surprises this year, the SWAT Team Challenge, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So here's my interview with Mr. Clayton Hergert of ATX Precision. Joining me on the phone is Mr. Clayton Hergert from ATX Precision right here in the Austin, Texas area where I'm based. How are you doing today, Clayton?
I'm doing great, Dustin. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. Better than I deserve is my usual answer, and I'm definitely having a good Monday, so that's great.
Yeah, great.
So just tell me, basically, tell the listeners just basically a little bit of background about your experience in the military and your experience growing up in the outdoors and those kind of things, where you grew up, that kind of stuff.
Sure. I grew up in small town north of Amarillo, Spearman, Texas. Typical small town upbringing, hunting, shooting, camping, fishing, all that kind of stuff. Definitely interested in that early on, which led me into the military. Got into special operations, where I've been fortunate. I got into the SEAL teams about 2001. I'm currently a reservist now, and then I formed up my own company when I left active duty, ATX Precision, kind of teaching some of that same stuff that I got to learn along the way, the shooting, the field craft, all that kind of stuff. So a little bit of my background.
Oh, that's super. Tell us a little bit about ATX Precision, because most of our listeners, I don't think, have heard of it before. Just the background of how the company started and what you teach in your instruction.
Sure. It kind of started by luck, really. I'd done a lot of teaching on the military side, but I got a chance to teach with a buddy of mine up in Oregon during one of my blocks of leave. My wife's from Oregon. So I was up there. A friend of mine asked if I could help. went out to help them teach a couple of classes, had a great time doing it. Fast forward a couple years, when we left active duty, my wife and I relocated to Austin. She's going to school at UT. And as we got into town, I was kind of in between jobs at that point. A group of IT folks who had just gone out and bought really expensive AR-15s. That was kind of during that time frame when everybody was worried they were going to lose their guns. So
yes,
they went out and bought really nice AR-15s and didn't really know how to use them. So as we were kind of hanging out with them, and they said, "Hey, can you show us how to use these?" Absolutely, and I just had a blast doing it. And that's when I started thinking, maybe there's something to this, forming up my own company type deal. I did it on the side for the first year or so. I was actually working another job with a lab company, but it got to the point where it was like, hey, we need to go full throttle with this thing. Talked to the wife about it, and we went full time with it last year, January of 16, and I've been going hard ever since on that. Our primary focus is on rifle, AR-15s and precision rifles, but we're starting to expand into handguns, shotguns, shooting events, whether they're social company type events or competitions, getting into some of those, helping with those, and symposium type events as well. So really anything and everything having to do with shooting events, training, all of that. That's what we cover.
And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show, Clay, is the I believe you call it the SWAT Team Challenge. Is that correct?
You're referring to the SWAT Challenge at the Texas Firearms Festival,
the Texas Firearm Festival. Yes, absolutely. That's what I'm referring to. And that is going to be the September the 30th and October the 1st weekend, Saturday and Sunday, coming up. And I wanted to definitely tell listeners about that. They can check out more of that on the show notes. I've got to have the link that links specifically to that. But you organized the SWAT Challenge, correct?
I did. Yes. Last year it was kind of a side project. The folks over at Crosswind Media that are putting it on asked if I would help them out. We put together a small little competition. Some folks at Colt donated the winning prize for it, and again, it wasn't very large. It was just real quick course of fire, and it was a big hit with the crowds and with everybody. So Crosswind came back and asked if I would do it again. Said, sure, absolutely. We had a great time. So I think this year we're looking to expand it, make it a little bit bigger, make it a little more comprehensive on what it covers. Last year, the course of fire was a quick manual breach with, the Rams, followed by a very quick course of fire with the AR-15s. This year, I think we're going to make it a few more stages to really make the competition a little bit better.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. And so tell us a little bit about what kind of things you teach at ATX Precision as far as tactical and practical shooting skills that we can use in real life.
Sure. Let me start with the precision rifle side, because that's kind of the easy one. We kind of take a lot of those lessons that we learned in sniper school and apply those to people that want to get better with the scoped rifles, whether that's for hunting purposes or they're just getting into the precision rifle world. There's a lot of sport and competition that's popping up in that category.
Right.
So we take obviously ships, really enhance that, get people to really expand how far they think they can shoot, as well as how tight they think they can shoot. And now we're starting to look at people, or we're starting to get people that are interested in some of the field craft side of that too. Again, we cater to a lot of hunters. They want to get better with their rifle and better in the field. So
yes.
We're starting to look at field craft, better camouflage, some of those skill sets that I think not a lot of people are getting a chance to go really learn and get instruction from. But yeah, just taking that realm to the next level. On the AR-15 side, folks getting faster, more efficient running the rifle system, whether it's for a hunting purpose or defensive purpose, or even some competition type stuff, ways to get more efficient with that. Our newest course this year is AR-15 for hunters. Cool. A lot of people are hunting with them, putting scopes on them.
Yes, I'm one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean it's a great weapon system. It's fun to shoot. It's cheap. Big people can shoot it. Small people can shoot it. Kids, females. So it makes sense to use it. So we kind of take some of the stuff out of the precision rifle course, some of the stuff from our defensive carbine course, and kind of combine the two. That's where we're going in that area. On the handgun side, getting better accuracy with your handgun, how to more efficiently use it, thoughts on gear selection, holsters, you name it. Concealed carry, a lot of people ask about that now. And then one of my instructors has just developed a shotgunning course, and there's two sides to that. He's got kind of a home defense shotgun, and then he's got a 3-gun shotgun.
Oh, cool.
Course. Yeah, so a lot of places to go have competition, but not a lot of places to go learn how to be a better competitor. So that's some of the stuff we're kind of looking at this year. And so the new courses, the shotgun, the defensive handgun, and the AR-15 for hunters, those will all come online this fall once it starts cooling off.
That's exciting. And so it'll be a better time of year to go out and experience that kind of stuff in the outdoors because it won't be so blooming hot as it is here in June, right?
Right. Yeah, I joke with all my friends, back east you can't go outside in January and February, and here you can't go outside in August and September.
That's right.
So we're going to wait till. Yeah. So we're definitely going to wait till the fall to put all that stuff out.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. And yeah, that's the thing that I wanted to bring up to listeners because AR-15s have certainly brought up, more hunters and more people interested in the hunting sports that were crossing over from just the shooting sports. And the most interesting thing about that is that, a lot of ammo companies have come out and gone up with, better loads for the 223 5.56 round. And then, of course, the 300 Blackout was developed a few years ago as a hunting round. What's your favorite, I guess, pet load for hunting, or do you do much hunting, Clay?
I absolutely do hunting. It's probably the main reason I work is so I can go hunt. But
awesome, me too. That's great.
Yeah. Any of the heavier rounds, I've had really good luck with, like the 69 and 77 grain rounds.
That's what I was asking. Yes.
I like those. A lot of them are loaded with like Sierra Match Kings. Those actually work really well, or at least I've had good experience with them. I'm certainly not a scientific, study or anything, but had good luck with those on deer and hogs, as well as prairie dogs too. So I like the heavier bullets. Whoever's loading them, most of them seem to be doing pretty well as long as it's from a reputable company like Black Hills, Federal, Winchester. I think has a few of the heavier loadings. So I'd recommend going heavier bullets on those.
It's interesting you bring that up. I shoot a Federal Fusion 62 grain. I've had a lot of success with, and then I've got some pet loads, which I've talked about ad nauseum on my videos and stuff, and that's a 62 grain Hornady Spire Point custom hand load. And I've killed plenty of deer and hogs, mainly neck and head shots on hogs and neck shots on deer, and I've had a lot of success with that round. And I mean, I put videos on YouTube, Clay, and I've not told you about this before, but I put videos on YouTube just to show that it can be done and done well. And I get a lot of people that will respond to me and say, wow, you really actually did it. You proved that the AR-15 is not just a quote unquote assault weapon or an evil gun or a black rifle or whatever it's classified as by the liberal media. You've shown that it is an accurate and well placed hunting weapon in the firearms realm.
Oh, absolutely. Again, because it's light and it's kind of mild recoiling.
Yes.
And you can collapse the stock down for the kids or whoever's shooting it. Yeah, it makes absolute sense because, it's more comfortable for a lot of people and it's not going to bite them recoil wise.
Right.
So yeah, they end up shooting it better. And, Yeah, I mean, everybody knows accuracy is king when it comes to the bullet performance. It could be the best bullet in the world, but if you miss or hit it in a bad spot, it's not gonna do what you want.
Right.
So, yeah, get the gun that you shoot the most accurately, and have fun with it.
Absolutely. And I mean, I have an Olympic Arms in 223.556. And then I'm also thinking about getting another one in 300 blackout, but I'm not so sold on the 300 blackout round because it drops so far after 100 yards. I mean, what's your thought on that, or do you have a lot of experience with the blackout round?
Yeah, I hate to discuss anything negatively, but
Sure.
I do think kind of in this area of Texas, here in the hill country, a lot of your shots are going to be further than the capability of that rifle.
Yes.
From what I found, if you're in really heavily wooded areas where you're not going to be shooting beyond 50 yards, I would consider it. I feel like you're gonna carry that 300 blackout, and that's when you're gonna see that trophy walk out at 200 yards.
Right.
And that's my only hesitation on the blackout.
I'm with you. I mean,
But it is a.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. I was just gonna say it is a fun gun to shoot, but I just.
Well, I got to shoot my first 300 blackout at the Texas Firearm Festival last year, and I had a blast doing it. But basically, for folks that don't know, because I know there are a lot of newbies to the sport that listen to this podcast, it's basically a 30 caliber stuffed in a 223 casing. And that's basically the basic way that it's set up, and it shoots well. It shoots out of an AR-15 magazine. It shoots well out of a AR-15. You don't have to do any modifications to anything major because it's using the same case size, but it's just a heavier bullet. But the one drawback on it is that it drops pretty severely out past 100 yards and so on and so forth. For long range shooting, it's not ideal. For short range shooting, it's developed for short range shooting, and is very capable for that, for sure. So, but I personally think that the innovations that have happened to the 223, the AR-15, it's just, there's one manufacturer that I mentioned in the NRA podcast that I did a couple of weeks ago, about a month or so ago, and that is the Allegiance Ammunition. They have a 90 grain or something like 110 grain AR-15 223 bullet, and it's called Hog Strike, and they develop it especially for Texas hogs and hogs around the United States. And the cool thing about that particular round is it is a heavy enough nose on it, but you really need to shoot it in a 1-7 twist barrel. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I was going to say the heavier the bullet, the faster twist you're going to need.
Right.
A lot of them are made 1-7 now.
Yes, for the heavier bullets.
That seems
right.
to be that seems to be the industry standard. They're generally going to 1-7 all around, whether it's a rack grade barrel or kind of a match grade barrel. They all seem to be going to that faster twist anyway, but I would just say double check that.
Right. And make sure I always have to say this when we talk about ammunition and guns, shoot to kill. You want to make sure you practice with the ammunition that you're going to be putting in your gun, for hunting season, because a lot of times some guys will take one brand of ammunition and shoot it at the range and then be hard pressed to find some ammunition or lose their ammunition on a hunt or whatever, and then think that another round's going to perform the same way, and it's not necessarily that way. Is that true?
Oh yeah, definitely practice with that ammo.
Yes.
We've seen quite a big difference just between two brands that seemingly have the same bullet on them.
Right.
Yeah, I would definitely stress that. Practice with what you're going to go in the field with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's highly important. I did a video on that back in 2013 and had a lot of people respond. I shoot Mosin Nagants. I've got 6 of them, and they're let's see. I use Silver Bear 203 grain 7.62 by 54 rim, and then Brown Bear. And Silver Bear even shoots better than, or different, not necessarily better, but different than Brown Bear because of the casing. There's zinc on one casing and there's lacquer on another, and even that can change the dynamics of the shot. And a lot of people don't think of that. So I even say use the same box that you're going to hunt with and know where that ammunition is going to hit. Know that ammunition is consistent and from a reputable manufacturer. But that's just my play on those thoughts there.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on that for sure.
No, that's definitely important. So So tell us some, since you're a big hunter and you've done hunting and stuff like that since you were a kid. Tell us some of your hog and deer and Texas tactics for hunting around here, especially here in the Texas Hill Country.
My favorite thing to do is I like to get up high and locate stuff with optics.
Cool.
That's the part that I really enjoy, spotting the observation, looking for something. If it's within what I call my 90% zone, which is where I know 90% of the time I can hit that, maybe I'll take that shot, or if it's, there's plenty of time in the daylight, then I might try to maneuver on it and get a better position. But, and let me clarify that 90%, since I deal with a lot of long range and long range hunting is kind of the up and coming thing. Everybody wants to get into it. Mm-hmm. I would say that 90% zone, you've got to objectively look at where can I pull out my rifle and 90% of the time get a first or a second round hit.
Right.
And you've really got to evaluate that. I've got into a couple discussions with folks on the shooting line that are like, hey, this is a 1,000-yard gun. I have no problem taking a 1,000-yard shot. Okay. But is that realistic in the field? Can you pull your gun out and 90% of the time put that round in that kill zone under field conditions? And field conditions are different than range conditions. Flat range with the perfect equilibrium of coffee and food in your belly is different. That is much different than day 6 of a 7-day hunt in the mountains at altitude, tired, cold, dehydrated, sweaty from hiking up a mountain. Those are two different things. So that's where that 90% comes from. And I'll be honest with you, with a lot of training and a lot of time behind the gun, sometimes my 90% is 500 yards and sometimes that 90% is 300 yards. So you've got to look at that and be objective before you just start sending lead downrange at an animal.
No, I agree with that. And I mean, I definitely say it's important to train for those long range shots if you're going to take those long range shots, but it's almost like a badge of honor now for people to take those long range shots. And I when those TV shows that were long range hunting TV shows started out, I wasn't really a big fan, to tell you the truth. I wrote an article called about practical accuracy for Mac and Prowler, which is one of the TV shows I used to work for years ago. And I kind of said, if you could do it at a shorter range, though you don't necessarily have, just because you can doesn't mean you should. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Does that make sense? I mean,
spot on.
Yeah, I mean, so that just makes more sense to me, the way that things are plated, out there. I mean, if you can take a shorter range shot, I mean, it's efficacy for the animal at the end of the day. The way I look at it, I mean, it's being an ethical shot and making that ethical kill, because it's not like hitting a target, whether you hit it or you don't. You have the chance of wounding an animal if you're at a long range and you're not 100% sure, 90% as you like to say, sure, of where your ammunition is going.
Right. Yeah. And there are people out there that have the time invested, the equipment, and the skill set. They're more than capable of taking a shot at, say, 400 or 500 yards. There are people out there that have that skill set, and then there are other people that don't have that skill set. And again, I would just urge, the listeners, hey, take an objective look at what your skill set is before you just pull out there at 800 yards and start lobbing rounds at something. It's a little bit different than shooting steel, because if you shoot steel, you make a correction or 2 or 3 or 4, but eventually you hit that steel. With an animal, it's a little bit different.
Absolutely. That's my point. Exactly. I mean, so if you can make a shorter, shot, I think you should have that ability. But it's almost, like I said, a badge of honor for a lot of hunters to go out and say, well, I made that elk shot at, with the 300 Win Mag or a 338, at 1,000 yards. And I'm just like, I'm not impressed by that. I don't know. I mean, am I wrong? I mean, what's your point on that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it is a skill set. So somebody has put in the time. So if they go out there and they get that long range shot, okay, that's good. You know, was that because they put in the time, or did they just get lucky? If
Right.
they got lucky, I'm less impressed by
Right.
that. But
Right.
if somebody,
Exactly.
let's say somebody goes through one of our classes or two of our classes, they learn the fundamentals, they go back home, they practice, they get better, they put in that time, then they go out there and call me up and say, hey, I made a 400 or 500 yard shot.
Yes.
It was down to either no shot or this shot. That was our only option. Hey, roger that. That was, good job. You put your skill sets to use there. But if somebody calls me up and says, hey, I pulled a bench rest out on a mountain road and shot something a ridge line over, I'm like, well, what about, like, did you try to stalk up on it?
Right.
Did you try to get closer? And a lot of people will, they have this sort of mindset that they've got to shoot in a heavy wind. Oh, it doesn't count if there wasn't wind to it too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had a 20-mile-an-hour wind. Well, my next question is, well, could you maneuver so that the wind was in your face, or could you get closer? So I kind of look at everything from the whole picture, not just the shot itself. And I've been on a few hunts where we weren't successful, but I used every skill set I've ever been taught. And so that was probably my funnest hunt, those two up in the mountains. And then I've been on other hunts where we were successful and I didn't really use much skill sets at all.
Right.
And they were less fun to me, even though I connected on the one. I look back at the week I spent up at 12 grand hiking around using every skill set I've ever been taught in the military or out of the military, and that trip was more fun to me. So I kind of look at it as the whole scenario when it comes to hunting, not just the shot itself.
Oh, I definitely agree, because I mean, there's so much that goes into hunting aside from the kill shot or whatever you want to call it. The shot of a lifetime. Whether you're hunting elk in Colorado or you're hunting mule deer in Texas or whatever the case may be. I mean, there's so much that goes into a hunt. I think it should be a cumulative experience. Where it's about the getting out there and enjoying, Mother Nature, communing with God, whatever you're into, that goes into a fun hunting experience. It can be challenging, but I mean, it's not about making it more challenging and risking an unethical shot is my point. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally agree. Lower the risk on that shot as much as possible. If it means getting closer,
right, definitely
get closer.
I mean, I understand when you're target shooting, when you're shooting a steel target at 1,000 yards, that's definitely a challenge in and of itself. When it's hunting, I kind of play the cards a little bit closer to my chest. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing you've got to think about is that bullet may be capable of hitting
yes.
at that distance, but is it going to do the work that you intend for it?
Right.
Ringing plates is one thing, but is it going to do the damage that it needs to as quick as it needs to? And that's something that a lot of people don't think about. There's a lot of match bullets out, and some of the match bullets are actually pretty good hunting bullets. And some of the match grade bullets out there are not very good
right.
as far as a killing type bullet. So definitely evaluate that.
Let me just say this. I don't want to interrupt you, but the way that I look at it, like Sierra, for instance, we talked about Sierra Game Kings earlier. Sierra Match Kings are not necessarily the best hunting bullet around. The Game Kings are built for hunting. The Match Kings are built for precision shooting. So it's just keeping that kind of stuff in mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Some of the ones that are a pretty good balance of match and hunting, the Nosler Accubons,
yes,
get pretty good marks.
I've shot those before.
Yeah, and some of the Berger bullets, they're getting pretty good at bridging that gap. Regardless of what bullet you have, I would say as much as possible, because the best bullet in the world is not going to do you any good if it's in the hindquarters of an animal.
Right.
Get out there, wear that gun out, wear the barrel out, put another barrel on it, but get out there and practice as much as possible.
I think that's crucially important.
The days of people pulling out a couple rounds, checking their zero in September and firing 2 rounds in November. And, I remember some of the older folks in our family they kind of would brag about how they were on the same box of ammo for 2 or 3 seasons.
I know what you're talking about too. Yeah, my family's the same way. There's no badge of honor there, man.
Maybe, but I'm just like, God, that's totally wrong, And I would get the kind of funny looks when I would come home and want to go out and shoot in the summertime and practice. One, I just like shooting, but to me, I mean, shooting is such a perishable skill.
Yes.
The precision, all of it, precision shooting, handgun, AR, it's all perishable. So in my opinion, get out there, try to shoot as much as possible, get some good instruction by a knowledgeable person, a subject matter expert, and then go out there and practice as much as possible.
Yes. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think practice makes perfect, or at least close to perfect, because in a hunting situation, nothing's ever perfect or ever will be perfect for the most part. And I mean, it's practice is important. I just took my son out to the gun range this past weekend to Lone Star Range and Academy here in the Florence area in Central Texas. And they had a 3-gun match that I missed that morning, but we came in the afternoon and I loaded up my Ruger 1022 with some ammunition and just let him have at it. I mean, I made sure every shot was calculated, but he's still new to the sport, and getting your kids out there, especially, I know that's a big deal for you. It's a big deal for me too, is just getting them on paper and just teaching them the basics and fundamentals. That's so crucial at a young age.
Oh, absolutely. And, the other part of it is they've got to have fun too. It's got to be fun and stress-free. My brother and I joke it's a wonder we like to do any of the sports we do just because of the way we were introduced to it. So, we've kind of taken those lessons learned. It's like, okay, let's make this fun. Have a snack and
sure.
Not get too wrapped around the axle. I recently took my son shooting for the first time ever, and he had a blast, but once I saw that attention span starting to go somewhere else, like, all right, well, now it's time to go get some snacks and, grab a milkshake or something.
Right.
So that he remembers that as a good day, not as, this was a long day. That was just not any fun. So definitely get those kids out there, get them shooting correctly and safely and teach them.
No, that's great. And I mean, I know you're really big about getting kids in the outdoor sports. And, I as an adult, I started, as a lot of folks know from listening to this show, I started later in life, in my early 20s in the shooting sports. And my dad taught me. My dad, I love him to death, but he doesn't have a lot of patience. So I had to end up going out to the range for myself and just finding people that knew a lot about shooting and firearms and reloading and that kind of stuff, and get some people surrounding me, with the field of experts, if you will, that helped me get where I am today as far as being an accurate marksman and really being a good shooter and being a good hunter, because there's a lot that goes into it, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing, and when I left to go into the military, I come from a shooting family. I kind of felt like, okay, I'm a pretty decent shot. Well, as I started getting formal instruction, first at kind of the basic level, and then as we moved on into more advanced stuff, the more I learned, the more fun it became.
Good.
Right. It was kind of like, I kind of equate it to, hey, I've got a Ferrari, but I'm only driving it 30 miles an hour. But as I learn more and more, it's like, wow, okay, now I'm getting this Ferrari out and I'm driving it at 60 miles an hour. Now
Yes.
I'm driving it at 70 miles an hour. And each time I learned more, I was getting closer to the capability of that Ferrari. And once I started driving the Ferrari at Ferrari speeds, that's when it really started getting fun to me. And that's one of the things I really try to instill in people that come through the classes. Hey, the more you learn, the more fun it becomes.
Yeah. And a place you can do a lot of shooting and get a lot of behind gun experience with a lot of guns you don't have to clean is definitely the Texas Firearm Festival. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's a good opportunity. Guns they're kind of like shoes. You want to get the ones that fit right. Otherwise, they're just going to sit in the closet. So
Yes.
you go out there, play with a lot of them, especially handguns. I didn't realize how big of a deal the fit of the handgun was until I started getting some actual training on it.
Yes.
And the same goes for your shotgun. Precision rifle, that's another big one. If the gun fits you ergonomically, you're going to shoot it much better. But if it fits well, it feels good, you're going to enjoy shooting it that much more.
I was just going to make that point. Yes.
Yeah, and those opportunities to get out there, demo something, see it in action, talk to the guy behind the line. Hey, what is this for? Why did you guys incorporate this piece into the design? Whatever you want to ask him, but that helps you to make a more informed decision on whatever firearm it is, regardless of discipline.
Whether you're looking to buy or just learn more about shooting firearms, I mean, it was an incredible experience for me. I only went for a couple of hours last year because I had another event that I was hosting, but I had so much fun just going there and learning, about all the different kinds of guns that are out there and all the different manufacturers and ammunition manufacturers, and they had a little retail tent set up, which they'll have this year again, that are little places you can go. So if you're in the Texas area or around the Texas area, which most of our listeners I think are, it's definitely worth it to make a trip to the Best of the West gun range to go to the Texas Firearm Festival, and I'll put the details about that in the show notes as well. But I had so much fun last year. I got to shoot some guns for the first time. I got to shoot some suppressed guns, which is a big thing too, right, Clay?
Oh yeah, you can't just go grab a suppressor and shoot it.
Right.
Shoot a bunch of suppressors anywhere else, at least not locally.
No.
A few places I've come across will let you rent one here and there, but as far as like getting out there and seeing all the different manufacturers with their latest and greatest models out there, and actually compare stuff to see what fits your intended purpose behind
Yes.
it, that's probably the best opportunity in Texas to do that.
Absolutely. So definitely I'll put details about that in the show notes, which you can view on your podcast player or on our website, fishgame.com, under the podcast listing. And is there anything else you'd like to talk about, Clay?
Something that is on my mind. One of the things I discuss a lot is shooting and hunting has kind of become a mark of political parties.
Yes.
And I really wish it wasn't. I wish it wasn't such a polarizing issue. So in order to get beyond that, I'm just really pushing hard and telling people, hey, get out there and invite your friends to go shooting. Invite people that don't normally fit the mold of the shooter hunter type to go shooting with you,
Yes.
or fishing with you, or camping, because the sake of the sport, I think, is at stake, really. I worry more about the decline in shooters than I do gun control.
Mm-hmm.
With the people that are coming into the sport now are the children of people that are already in the sport, and even that's on a decline.
Yes.
And there's plenty of folks out there are keeping track of the numbers and data, so I won't try to spout off statistics, but I would say reach across that political aisle, invite that person at the coffee shop to go shooting with you. Get some people that don't fit our mold into the sport. That's what I've been saying for a little while now, because I've recently seen a couple groups that kind of got into the sport because of, not my world, but they wanted to get into more healthy eating, or they were vegans that were looking into maybe getting back into eating, organic meat, whatever. But they did not fit the mold of shooters. And of course they have a perception of us as well. So that, the angry militaristic shooter, that's kind of putting some people off. So I would just say, hey, put all that aside, reach across the aisle, ask somebody to go fishing with you. The next step, ask them to go to the range with you, then take them on a hunt sometime, and bring people into the sport, because that's we're in danger of losing it over the long haul, in my opinion.
Well, I see, to your point, I see that shooting sports, and that's one of the reasons I started this podcast, is years ago in 2015 when I started it, I saw that if this is a way to rope some of those kids that are on the fence or on the other side into an interest in hunting or fishing or whatever we talk about on the show, shooting and bow fishing and that kind of stuff, I mean, it's basically a good way to reach them, through a digital media that they're comfortable with. And so that's what kind of made me start the show. But I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, that's one reason why I'm constantly an advocate trying to say, hey, we fear what we don't understand as humans sometimes. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. And there's lots of perceptions that kind of
yes
feed that, and incorrectly, sometimes correctly, but we have a mental image of the anti-gun, anti-hunting world. Well, they have a mental image of us too, and somewhere, but both of them are probably a little bit off. So yeah, definitely reach out there and try to figure out what you don't understand and try to bridge that gap.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's just about reaching out and teaching and educating people. I had a conversation with my stepdad yesterday during Father's Day, and we had a long conversation about the difference between a preservationist and a conservationist, and how most hunters are conservationists, and how Africa wouldn't be where it is and have the thriving economy in some places that it is without hunting. And he didn't realize that. He just thought, well, you kill so many, because he's not a hunter, and I've tried to explain this to him before, but it kind of finally clicked yesterday. He was kind of like, well, if you hunt that animal, there's more value on their life. And I said, exactly. That's exactly my point. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Hunters, they're the ones that don't want the wetlands plowed under for high-rise apartments.
Right.
They're the ones that don't want the streams polluted. And there's the environmentalists on the other side that are like, they don't understand that we're kind of working towards the same goal in a lot of cases. So sometimes all it takes is one person sitting down and having a civilized conversation over a beer or two. So.
Right. And really, there's no better organic meat than what you get when you go hunting. There's no better free range meat. There's no better grass fed or corn fed meat, than you get when you go hunting. And I think we have a lot of in common traits with some of the folks that are quote unquote environmentalist or preservationist or whatever the case may be on the liberal side, if you consider us on the conservative side. But I just, it's funny you mentioned that, because on the last podcast, I was talking to Chester Moore, editor-in-chief of the magazine, and he was saying, we all want water that doesn't give you cancer. We all want, food that doesn't, pollute your body. We all want, cleaner water and better food and those kind of things as a whole. Why can't we just unite on something instead of fighting about it, And I mean, that was his point.
Yeah.
I think that's your point too, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Couldn't agree more. And, those couple of, folks that definitely are not the typical hunter type, that's exactly what brought them into asking about, hey, what kind of gun should I go hunting with? And it was because they were looking for that grass-fed, organic protein source, and it's, we could, me 10 years ago, I would have, made fun of that person or said, I don't want anything to do with that person. But, a little bit more mature now. And it's like, oh, okay, you know what? This is exactly the person that needs to come into this sport.
It's the folks that are on the fence, really, isn't it? It's not necessarily the folks that are anti, because we know we may never change their mind, but it's about educating the people that are on the fence and getting them to go our way, at least understand our way. That's my goal, at least.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say a lot of people will change their mind. A lot of people that don't even have a stake in the sort of the discussion at all. My wife being from Portland, a lot of her friends, they never even think about, hunting or shooting or any of that stuff. And now, just through kind of my interactions, now some of them want to make a trip down here. They want to go shooting.
Sure.
They want to get out there. Guns scare me. I've never been around a gun. It just makes me feel uncomfortable. And now, after talking to them after a couple of years, well, why don't you come down here? It's nice, low stress day. It's enjoyable.
Right.
So I would say reach out to those folks that you don't expect to be in the sport, because you might be surprised.
I couldn't agree more. That's great. If you wouldn't mind, please tell people where to find you as far as your website goes. If you have a phone number you want to give out, anything like that before we close the show today.
Yeah, our website is atxprecision.com. We're also on Facebook under the same name, ATX Precision, as well as Instagram, same name, ATX Precision.
So y'all are big in social media, I know that much. And you're going to be designing the SWAT Challenge again this year at the Texas Firearm Festival, correct?
I am, yeah. We're trying to incorporate some more stuff in there and maybe have a couple surprises for the crowd as well.
Which I'm sure you can't tell us about, but that's okay. That's fine.
Well, I want to keep it kind of cold for the competitors too. So
okay.
But part of it is we want it to replicate kind of what they'll be doing
yes.
in real life. So the idea of hey, knowing the course of fire and gaming it, we're trying to lessen that as much as possible.
Right, and there was such a draw to it last year, and it's such a success last year. I'm glad to see it coming back this year, and just excited to see, that kind of training and those kind of scenarios of real life scenarios being put into action. I think that's really cool what you're doing, man.
Yeah, and it gives the community a chance to see some of these guys at work. It is impressive watching a well-trained SWAT unit go out there and execute what they train to, and they're doing it for the greater good. So it's a good chance for the public to see what the local law enforcement is out there doing for them every day.
No, that's great. Is there anything else you have to add before we close out the show, Clay?
I think I'm tapped out.
You've been a great guest, I've got to say. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. I really appreciate it.
And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Clayton Hergert of ATX Precision. Awesome guy. What a great interview that was. Had a lot of fun engaging with him with some really good questions, and just love this show, man. Love bringing this podcast with you every other week, and had a lot of fun delivering that. And I really appreciate you guys listening. I can't say that enough. This is a dream come true. This is something I've wanted to do for years. The podcast has been ongoing since 2015 when I started it, so we're celebrating about 2 years now. I started it in May of 2015. And kind of went on and off for a while, but we've been at it consistently now for going on a year straight of every other week, or almost every other week in some cases, pumping out a new show, and I really just enjoy the opportunity to bring that to you. Wanted to also mention to please subscribe to our newsletters if you've not done so already. Fishgame.com is where to find that, and you can go to the newsletter sign-up link. You can find a tab for all the podcasts there. All the podcasts that we've done you can listen to right on that website at fishgame.com on your phone or on your desktop computer. And basically, you just sign up for the newsletter. You will get Tactical Tuesday, which is very popular for a lot of folks I know listening to this podcast. We talk about tactical and practical advice. Wildlife Wednesday, which we talk about wildlife. Chester Moore writes that one, and I had him on the previous show. And then the Thursday, Texas Outdoor Nation, State of the Texas Outdoor Nation newsletter. That thing is awesome. It is full of a lot of content that is on our website and on the Wildlife Journalist blog with Chester Moore, and just a ton of really great stories. So I'm really excited about all those newsletters. So sign up for that. Stay plugged in to Texas Fish and Game. And we've got great articles coming out in the magazine, great columns with our award-winning writers. If you've not subscribed to Texas Fish and Game, that would be awesome too. Subscriptions are relatively affordable. You can sign up for a year or 2 or 3, and we have a lot of fun pumping out a good magazine for you every month. And also, again, as I said at the beginning of the show, please be sure to subscribe to our podcast. That way you get new shows twice a month, every other week. And really excited that you joined us. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Also, be sure to check out the Texas Firearm Festival. I have a link to that in the show notes that you can check out and visit that link. It's texasgunfest.com if you don't have a chance to look at the show notes, but texasgunfest.com, all one word, is how to find out more about this. And you can buy tickets now. And we're going to be doing some email blasts on the side of Texas Fish and Game to our newsletter list that basically outlines what's going on. But again, it's from September 30th to October 1st, just north of Austin, Texas. 40 different vendors, each letting you shoot their guns on site. You'll learn the best about gun safety, performance, and tactics. There's just so much to learn about this awesome thing that's coming up. I mean, imagine a gun festival where you don't have to clean the guns after you're done shooting them. I mean, but basically you get to shoot as many guns as you care to shoot, and you don't even have to pay for the ammunition. It's all covered in the cost of the ticket. And I really, really am excited about going to this year again, and just really recommend that you check out the Texas Gun Fest, Texas Firearm Festival. Really, really cool opportunity to do some shooting. And have an awesome day in the outdoors.